So I had a very hard day, and I wrote a very long letter to the Yes on 8 supporters. And I'm putting it everywhere, on my MySpace, on my DA, and here. And I thought it was very important for everyone to hear it, so I'm going to record me reading it to you. And that's all. So here is my video. Well, my letter, anyway. Dear Yes on 8 supporters, hey there. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that most of you are probably feeling pretty proud of yourselves right now, and patting each other on the back for your near victory of 3%, and it must feel pretty good to win, huh? God knows, I'd be proud too if I woke up to find that my vote had such an impact on thousands upon thousands of people. I must say I'd be pretty elated over the defeat of the U.S.'s strides for separation of church and state, and the victory over the very things our forefathers fought and died for, the things our country was founded on. Yeah, I'd have to say I'd be pretty enthralled with myself for the devastation of an enormous large group of people, but I'm not. I'm not because I voted no to illegal discrimination. No to the idea that a religiously founded belief and opinion should have any say in the legal constitution, which rules over other people who may not have the same beliefs. I voted no because I felt that there was a greater need for human equality and compassion in the whims of an organized religion that practices intolerance and promotes subhuman treatment of another group of people. I voted no because I could not bring myself to believe in a hypocrisy of a love that would deny people fundamental rights that are supposedly granted to everyone. I suppose it doesn't matter, though, does it? You never really believed in that. It doesn't matter to you. Well, I hope you're happy with yourselves, then. I hope you can look in the mirror and say how happy you are to emotionally devastate hundreds of thousands of people and their loved ones. I hope you can look in the mirror and say how proud you are to treat another group of people with substandard, subhuman notions for reasons they cannot change. I hope you can look at yourself and feel just fine with the fact that your vote has such an emotionally scarring ramifications that people, your neighbors, your coworkers, your family, maybe even your friends, might just kill themselves because of it. That they would rather take their own lives than live in a world that you chose for them. I hope you can think about that and smile without flinching. Well, take pride in being a bigot, because that's what you are. You disagree? The definition of a bigot is a person who is utterly intolerant of a different creed, belief, or opinion. Utterly intolerant as in so intolerant that you cannot stand to allow marriage between people you don't even know because you don't deem it acceptable by your definition of marriage. Can't really argue with that, can you? And maybe you don't understand the weight of what you've done because you were taught to believe that being different is not okay. Or maybe because you've never had to fight for the same rights as your neighbor, your fellow citizen, your fellow human being. But that's no excuse. What you've done is hurtful and inexcusable. It was a choice based on unjust fear and selfishness. Fear of what you don't understand and can't relate to, and selfishness of worrying over what it means for you, what it means to you, your soul, instead of what it means to your fellow men and women. And don't pretend this was for the children. 300 pediatricians told you otherwise. Because of your vote, children who are already being raised by gay parents now have their chance for economic stability and environments ruined. Children who had the chance to be adopted by gay parents who obviously wanted them more than their heterosexual parents will now suffer as well. It's not very fair. And as for your children, well, gay marriage was never going to be taught in schools, and you knew it. The California Superintendent for Schools and the Teachers Associations told you so. This was never about church rights, and everyone told you otherwise. In fact, just about every large newspaper and major company head and Californian leader, as well as our current president, Obama, and our past president, Clinton, told you it was wrong and unjust, and you voted for it anyway. This was never about anyone but you and your fear. Fear so strong that you'd be willing to deny people the right to be above subhuman standards just to keep yourself safe. Safe. From what? I have never seen a bigger, hypocritical, unprecedented, discriminatory injustice short of the Rwanda genocide and hate crimes and killing in my time. And don't try and console me with domestic partnership, because it is not the same. Those ads, those yes on H, which said domestic partnership and marriage are the same, is a lie. You have maybe 30 rights in a domestic partnership versus what, the 177 in a marriage? Would you give up your other 147 rights because another religion said they didn't agree with your marriage? Would you want a domestic partnership instead of a marriage if you knew that a domestic partnership could be dissolved if you ever decided to live under another roof than your partner? For whatever reason, be it work or otherwise. Would you want to have to wait 7 years in some cases just to be granted those simple 30 rights? Not even insurances, not even parts of the government will recognize domestic rights in many places. They don't recognize it on taxes. They don't recognize it in insurances. I'm just going to take a stab at this and say you wouldn't do it. So if you wouldn't revoke your marriage for a domestic partnership, or take a domestic partnership instead of a marriage, then why would you demand that of anybody else? You should never ask someone to do something that you yourself are not willing to do. That's equality. It's justice and liberty and freedom for all, not a few. How dare you spit in the face of something that you feel is a sin just because you feel it's a sin? You want to know what a real sin is? A real sin is taking away someone's free agency, their right to choose. If you take away someone's right to choose to keep or not to keep their possessions, theft, that's a sin. If you take away someone's choice to fornicate with you or not, rape, that's a sin. If you take away someone else's choice to choose to live or die, murder, that's a sin. If you take away someone's right to marry for no other good reason than you're afraid, that's a sin. If churches don't want to sanctify marriages, that's their religious freedom. They don't have to. If God doesn't want to sanctify marriages, he or she won't. But it is not your right to take away my rights as a human being, just because you don't agree with my lifestyle, which isn't hurting anyone else. I have the right to marry who I love within reasonable standards. I have every right to be as legally and financially safe as anyone else. I have every right to have every one of those marriage privileges just like anyone else, and it's being taken from me. Not because I committed a crime, not because I gave up my own free agency, but because of my sexuality. Because of something that is so fundamentally a part of myself that I can't change it no matter what you say and do. No amount of therapy is going to change that part of me. And I love my spouse just as much as the next person does, or should. And I'm proud to call her my wife. I want to tell everyone that I'm happily married and I fought hard to be with her. I want the right to say I'm married, to go to the hospital and check the married section instead of having to check the single section. I want to be able to say that I'm married on my taxes instead of having to file single. I want to not have to explain to my employer or anyone else how I can be married and still have to legally claim single. I want my future children to be safe if something should ever happen to either of us. I want my possessions, my property, my belongings to be passed on to my spouse, my wife. Yeah, I even want my insurance to carry. And when it comes time for it, I want to be laid next to the one that I love when I'm married. How could that possibly hurt you? And don't start your victory dance yet. Because while you may have succeeded in your cause thus far, it's far from over. People will not lay down and go quietly when their basic rights are being threatened. People will not stand down when they have something as powerful as love to fight for. And they will fight it, and they will fight for it, and they will endure it, and they will, in the end, outlast you. Because their motive, my motive, is something humanity has been working towards since its inception, and you simply cannot stop that. So, everyone who believes what I believe, let's fight together. Let's fight for love. Thanks.